All right, I'm on for Common Core State Standards article number 11, which is titled The Common Core Standards Starting Now. And it's an article done by David and Meredith Libin. And they start off by posing the question, you have little money and hardly any time. What can you do to move your school or district forward in implementing the Common Core State Standards? And they offer in this article practical, specific actions that can be immediately taken to get ready for the standards, this shift. And then also they share strategies and resources specifically related to the English language arts and literacy standards. And they first start off by saying that it's very important for us as educators, as a school, as a district to familiarize ourselves with the standards. What do they say and how do the requirements differ from the current state standards and practices? So a good question to ask yourself is, do you understand the shifts in practice with the implementation of Common Core state standards? And there's a lot of resources out there, professional learning communities, available for this professional development as educators. So they're going to be constantly referring to different links to incorporate these new standards in our teaching practice. So within the English language arts and literacy standards, they really hone in on text complexity. What else? Fluency, reading aloud, the amount of time and the type of reading necessary to be very successful in the implementation of these standards. So starting back at the top with text complexity, it's very important to understand the role of text complexity since it is a new standard, and the appropriate actions to take for this this new shift is to hone in on the academic vocabulary. This is very, very necessary for being able to understand complex text, and also it is very necessary to be proficient in writing, speaking, and listening. And so there's a few links you can check out in the article that that David and Meredith refer to help increase the focus on vocabulary, specific words to teach, and how to teach them. Another important component to text complexity is syntax, which is the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in a language. That is the definition of syntax. And so activities such as asking students to break down complex sentences into smaller ones and vice versa, giving them shorter sentences to then combine into longer ones is a good activity. Fluency. It is stated that many are not proficient readers because they lack fluency. And so some of the things that can be useful is repeated and purposeful reading of text and actively listening and following the text that is being read. This can happen inside the classroom very easily, asking a student to read a text out loud and have others follow along. You can also start building fluency. They're going to be starting to build fluency at earlier grade levels, and also we can help assess diagnose upper grade levels to help with this fluency, or lack of fluency, I should say. Another important action that can be taken is consistently asking students to reread sections of the text for the use of collecting evidence for a discussion or an assignment. And lastly, form a literacy task force or a team to help evaluate the reading program at your school or in your district. These are all great ways to help students become more proficient readers through fluency. The next topic that they talk about in the English language, arts, and literacy standards is reading aloud. Reading aloud informational texts allow students to build content knowledge for future complex texts. That was mentioned earlier, the complexity of texts. So, and a good rule of thumb that they suggest is for teachers to not spend time reading to students the stuff that they can read to themselves. So that's a good rule of thumb. And the last topic that they mention in incorporating these new state standards is to determine the amount and type of reading. And what they suggest is to focus on more informational texts and nonfiction during students' independent reading programs. These are basically developing the knowledge and skills that are going to be necessary for colleges and careers. So go ahead and check out the article. There's tons of resources. I will not be using them because I am using the math standards, but there's a lot of good resources out there. I think their main thing is really just familiarizing yourself with the standards and checking out the resources out there that's available to help in the implementation of the new Common Core state standards. All right, that's it.